Hello, guys and gals of the internet. I'm Mr. Chaos of YouTube, Mixer.com, and Twitch TV. And oh my god, we actually have a recent channel update after the last one. As you've probably known over the last couple of years, channel updates have been pretty scarce, spread across the year. But we've got a more recent one this time for you guys. There is quite a bit to talk about, so I think it kind of warrants one. As I've kind of said before, I generally don't really do channel updates unless there's enough to really warrant one. You know, there's no point doing a 3 minute one just for a quick announcement. It just wouldn't make any sense, and it'd be kind of a waste of video for you guys. So we've got quite a bit to cover. So what the kind of purpose of this one is just to let you know how things are going right now. Because as you probably would know, it's been almost 2 weeks since I had this completely new setup, and this room, well, pretty much changed and not really done up, but more changed. And this, obviously, with the dual monitors and the table and everything. So it's kind of like almost 2 weeks since my new setup was kind of done up. Today is Monday 18th, so it'll be 2 weeks as of Thursday, actually. And incidentally, my birthday is on the Wednesday, so that's quite unusual. I'm the big 3-0, but I'm not really doing anything for it. I mean, obviously, I've had this whole thing done for me as a birthday present, so that's pretty much all I need anyway for like the next few years. If the reports on this PC are anything to go by, it should last me quite some time, so I'm quite happy about that. So, yeah, I've had this set up pretty much for almost 2 weeks now, and I think I've almost kind of covered all the bases. You know, I've done some mock recordings, I've done some mock streams, and I even continued and concluded the playthroughs of Resident Evil 0 and Resident Evil 2 Remake 2019. The remake will actually finish tomorrow. The final two parts of that will go up tomorrow. And as you probably guys would have noticed most recently, would be a most recent set of Dragon Ball FighterZ. Obviously, Videl was added a couple weeks back or so. And she pretty much took the final spot on my main team. So what I actually decided to do was a Mighty Madness, kind of ripping that from 2K a little bit, and do a set with her, Android 21, and Trunks. And it ended up being a really successful set. It really did. I keep getting my words muddled, but it ended up being a really successful set. I ended in one, probably more than I lost. I didn't really keep count because I don't really care. But I think if I was keeping score, I think I almost probably broke even between wins and losses. I actually won a lot more than I expected, and it pretty much solidified them as my main team. So there's that. I'm hoping to probably do a couple more sets in the future. One in particular would be Android Madness Volume 2, because I hear Android 17 is really fun. So what I'm planning to do there when I eventually get around to it is, excuse me, swap him and 16 and 18, but keep 21 and 17 as permanent members of that team when I eventually get around to doing it. I'll try and get that up before the beginning of March. I'll explain more about that in a minute. So yeah, that's pretty much been what's been going on. Resident Evil 0 concluded in the most hilarious fashion, where I just fired all the bullets to end the game, which was actually quite hilarious. Resident Evil 2 Remake 2019 will finish tomorrow, like I said. I found the B scenario particularly tough, actually, much more tougher than I was actually expecting. One thing I actually noticed was the enemy numbers. They are incredibly high in this scenario. It's strange because the PS1 game didn't have that many enemies at one scenario. I mean, yes, they were different, but I don't think it was so overwhelming like they were in the B scenario sometimes. It felt like in a game what was built on the classic Resident Evil mantra of item management and like kind of preserving health items, it really just felt like sometimes that you had to fight and you actually had to shoot and waste ammo. And I think that was probably most prominent in the most recent update for the game. Now, I was planning to do, last week when that released, I was planning to do not only the full survivor that you got for beating the game, but I was hoping to do the Tovu survivor and the 3 stories that came out with a 3 update for the game. One of them involves the gunshop owner Kendo. One involves the chick that is taken by Chief Irons, and I think she was killed by a zombie in the original. I can't remember. And then the other one was a unnamed soldier, I didn't actually find out what his name was. That's really because I didn't play them. Because after playing Hunk and then switching to Kendo, I didn't want to do the scenarios. Because Hunk's level is filled to the brim with enemies. Not only have you got the traditional zombies, but now you got dogs, and you got lickers, and then you got fucking Tyrant towards the end. And it just shoves everything in your face and expects you to survive when, number one, you haven't really got a lot of ammo. You've got a lot of guns, but you haven't got a lot of ammo for the guns. You've only got very limited gunpowder and very limited health items. But the game just swarms you with these enemies that are all over the place, and it was like, it got frustrating really quickly, because you get to a certain point and you figure out that, shit, amount of items, amount of bullets, I'm dead. And that's pretty much what it was the whole way through with these stories. It's like these stories were rather throwaway ones, to be honest. I mean, I think they were alternate realities, you know. It was like change the fate of Kendo, and as you know, in the original, Kendo gets chomped by a bunch of zombies breaking through his glass in his shop. And then it was at the different angle in the remake, and then it ends up, I think that's probably a follow-on to that. I don't know whether he takes his own life after his daughter or whatever, but it seems like it was meant to change the scenarios. Like, I think the one with the chick was definitely a change to the scenario, because apparently she dies, you found her dead. And then probably the last one was based on the soldiers that raided Nest in the first place to get Birkin. Tyrant shows up and probably kills them all. And it's like, but the big problem was the same problem I had with Scenario B. Just enemies everywhere. It is ridiculous the amount of enemy numbers that are there, considering it's a game that was based on the classic, which was based on ammo and health kind of perversion of the items, you know, item perversion or whatever the word is. You know, you had to save items and stuff. You can't overuse them or you're going to get screwed. But it just seemed like the more you went into it, the more you had to fight. And then in Kendo's scenario, you had like these zombies with purple heads that explode and toxin you. And I was like, after that, I put the DLCs down. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore, because I don't know what that was made for, to be quite honest. I think it was probably made to be more like Resident Evil 6, and no one liked that game because of how it was. So, a bit weird. I mean, coincidentally, I went to find out that I'd actually seen some speedruns of The Fourth Survivor done in 6 minutes, and I'm like, how on God's earth did you manage that with the amount of enemies that were on the screen? I mean, Jesus. I mean, kudos. Complete kudos, because the scenario probably doesn't look like something you could speedrun, but these people can. And I think it's just that I'm not that sort of player. I'm not a speedrun player. So I guess the way I play doesn't really suit the DLCs. Maybe they're speedrun kind of things. I don't know. I mean, we all know that Fourth Survivor and what becomes of Hunk and Tofu anyway, you know, because they were in the original. And then the 3 DLCs with the newest update were kind of like alternate realities anyway. It wasn't really the true story. So I think in all, for all intents and purposes, those stories in particular were real throwaways. And after the Kendo scenario, I was like, you know what, I don't want to even bother with the other two. So I won't be putting those up. I mean, the main game was more than good enough, except for the scenarios, really. As I said at the end of Resident Evil 2, a bit of a spoiler alert, I said at the end of the playthrough that really the only thing I could really harp on is, you know, the scenarios, because it just makes no sense. Scenario A and Scenario B are very similar in this game, which is strange, because when you think back to 1998 and when it released on the PlayStation 1 on 2 discs, they actually managed to do 2 completely different scenarios for Leon and for Claire. Yet here, in 2019, with the more technology and better technology to work with, the stories are very similar. It's like, why? Why did that not have the same love and care and work that got into the original game? Like, it made no sense. I mean, that's the only thing I could really critique on it. But apart from that, fantastic game. You know, it does the original such justice. And like I said at the end, with 2 of my favorite characters being Sherry Birkin and Claire Redfield, it's like that relationship was portrayed perfectly. It was everything I wanted to be and better. So that's the real high point of the whole thing. I said that at the beginning. It was a real draw to me in the original, and it was even better here. But like I said, the only real thing I could really harp on is just the scenarios and how much they didn't really differ. I mean, the only difference between Scenario A and Scenario B was probably very minute changes in the route you took at the beginning of the game more than anywhere else. Everywhere else was kind of like, and the puzzles were slightly different. but the stories were largely the same. And I'll give you an example. In the original Leon B, you fight Tyrant and Ada shows up, and Ada gets thrown into a piece of machinery and faints from a loss of blood after that, and that's what triggers the self-destruct sequence. While in ending A, she gets shot by a net and falls to her supposed death, even though she's not dead. She falls in a pool of water, I think the canon story is, that she gets out from. They play that scenario in scenario B. They don't play what actually happened in scenario B. So, yeah, I don't know why that wasn't incorporated the way it was, but I guess this the breaks. I just don't understand it, but it doesn't mean the game is any less enjoyable and fun as I ever wanted it to be. So, you know, it's only a minor criticism in a very decent game, and a great credit to the timeless classic that was Resident Evil 2 back in 1998. So, well done on that one. Small thoughts on Resident Evil 0. That finished a few days ago. And as I said, I ended up just cheesing to the end of the game, firing all the bullets I had accumulated up to that point. Resident Evil 0 is a tough game. It's a tough game because it's very different. You don't have item boxes and things like that. And I have to tell you, at the end of that playthrough, I really missed item boxes in Resident Evil 0. I really missed them. And I think the fact that you were controlling two characters at once sometimes didn't work, but I think for the most part it did. The only time I really cried foul on that was when I was taken by a frog and instant death, and Billy just stood there and looked at me for some reason. I think that was probably the only reason I really kind of cried foul there, but for the most part it worked. I mean, it was quite hilarious how I beat Tyrant down with pistol bullets. I found that quite hilarious. And then at the end, as I said, just cheesing to the end of the game, firing all the bullets I ever had accumulated up to that point. I was kind of scared that I wasn't going to make it, and apparently eventually I did. And I was pretty close to completing the game without a first aid spray, but I think I used one a bit further early on that I probably didn't need to. I could have done that trophy, but unfortunately I messed up on that one. Interesting unlock at the end of that game was a Wesker mode. But really all it is just Rebecca dressing up like in a Wesker-like outfit and obtaining Wesker powers. It's not anything to do with Wesker. It's not like Umbrella Chronicles at the end of the first section, like Resident Evil 0 that you play, and you unlock this Wesker scenario that's a single-player experience. It was nothing like that at the end of 0. It was just more like Rebecca dressed up in a Wesker-like outfit, having Wesker-like powers. That was all it was. So that was a bit unfortunate, but if you played Umbrella Chronicles, you pretty much know what happens to Wesker anyway, so it wasn't something that really needed to be elaborated on, as most series veterans probably knew anyway what that was. So that's pretty much what's been going on. So like I said, Resident Evil 2019's playthrough finishes tomorrow, and then that'll mean Dragon Ball FighterZ My Team Madness will finish on Wednesday. I'm going to try, like I said, to get one more set of Dragon Ball FighterZ up before the 1st of March, because now we're going to get into how everything's been going. And it's been going, I've had this, like I said, for 2 weeks. It's really been going well. I finally kind of settled into kind of what I'm going to do for various playthroughs and scenarios. What I have here is actually something my uncle sent me, which are 2 items that could really help. Apparently he's going to get me next month. I think this is due for next month, but it could change knowing my uncle, maybe. We don't really know, but the plan is to send up a couple of items for me. One of them being a Logitech C922 webcam, which is basically 1080p, which is probably the most important item in this whole set, because like the whole thing, because this webcam I'm using now is only 720p, and it's really old, and it's kind of probably outdated at this point, you know, and most streamers and people that put their face cam on their playthroughs, I don't, but I feel it gets in the way of a playthrough experience personally, but for streaming, you know, the majority of streamers do have 1080p webcams at this point, so I'm a bit outdated on that one. It's been something I've been meaning to get for a while anyway. Apparently my uncle's going to send something up in March when that eventually happens. And the other thing is a mic stand, because I'm having to kind of make a makeshift setup for the moment for recording consoles. Recording PC is going to be easy, you know, I just sit here, but for consoles it's going to be a bit more difficult, because I have to kind of take this mic and this ultra long cable I got, which is very useful, that he sent us. That was actually going to be a bit more for over here, which I'll talk about in a minute. But what I'm gonna have to do is use these and then place the mic on the arm of the sofa and sit next to it like that. So it works. You know, it works more and better for what it was supposed to do. So you know, it does what it does. You know, it's just a kind of small change to what I was originally doing. You know. But the uncle's going to send up a mic stand as well, so I'll be able to actually move. And I think it comes with a tripod or something, and that will mean I can move it around and place it in front of me and actually sit more properly, as it were. So you know that they're going to be two very useful items that hopefully I should be getting next month. But I have another my uncle in a few days, so I'll have to probably catch up with him on that. So that's that. So yeah, I pretty much covered all the bases. All the PC stuff is pretty much on point now. You know, I've tested streaming, I've tested recording, I've finished the playthroughs of 0 and 2 and did Dragon Ball FighterZ, so actually doing a playthroughs has worked. Streaming works. The only thing that I really ran into a scare for was PC-wise, actually, because the one thing I actually noticed when testing this stuff out was... for some reason, I couldn't figure it out at the time, but for some reason, I was actually hearing what I was saying through this microphone coming out through desktop audio. Imagine you have OBS in front of you, and you have your desktop audio and your mic audio and stuff like that. So when I was actually talking into the mic, my desktop audio was lighting up, and it was basically telling me that I was talking into the microphone. It was coming through the desktop audio, and I'm like, what's that? You know, that's never happened before. Because what I had to do with the old setup, with the monitor there that Tanley now uses, was that you know, I plugged the a headset into the monitor at the back, and it kind of cancelled that all out. So I was all right with that. But I don't have that capability in these monitors. I don't have that. They're both 2080p monitors, and that's about it. You know, we don't have any headphone jacks or anything like that. Fortunately, I figured out what to do pretty much a couple of days ago, actually, where I basically, you right click on the speaker icon, you go into the volume mixer, and you have a list of like items that you use. My microphone isn't even here, which is kind of weird, but that's fine. You know, it's picking up my voice anyway, so it's no big deal. But basically, my microphone would be on this list, and I've lost my mouse, but the microphone would be on this list, and you actually get a option to mute the microphone, and actually that works. You know, it doesn't come through the speakers anymore. It's basically because this whole everything that's plugged in now has the ability to go through the PC sound card, and I never really experienced that before. But if you mute the microphone in your sound mixer, that does the job. So for a minute there, I was kind of worried because that would have obviously caused some problems for Project PC, because using Elgato Game Capture 3 and the Elgato sound capture that you need to use for PC gaming, if my microphone's getting kind of picked up, my commentary's getting picked up, then the live commentary is getting picked up as well. That's going to echo. It was going to be like a terrible echo there. But fortunately, now that I've viewed that, that actually does work. So all you gotta do is pick up your whatever your main kind of sound output is, and then mute the microphone, and it won't come through on the desktop audio. So it was pretty much business as usual. And I was kind of worried because Project PC might have been put on hold, because I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know if it was something my uncle had to do or not. But I actually figured that out myself. So Project PC is pretty much back on, and pretty much ready to go. I've got all the games I wanted for it. I've got the Batman games, I've got the Walking Dead Season 3, and they were kind of the last two games I needed for the project. And basically, just to give you a quick overview of the what Project PC is, it's basically a means to get Telltale games back on the channel, because I had a bunch of playthroughs that I removed last year. The Walking Dead, like I said, was a bit of a necessity, because I didn't think it was ever going to get finished until Skybound Entertainment picked up the reins for the final season. Now that's actually become the case, and now that's actually going to get finished. But like I said, I didn't really regret the idea, and I actually came up with the idea that I would delete all the Telltale games that I had, plus Life is Strange, plus a couple of others, and redo them all on the PC version. The main reason, like I said, was for Telltale's games was because I was never really happy with how the playthroughs turned out. Case in point, mostly with Tales from the Borderlands. Not only was half of it on the Xbox One and PS4, but the ending, which was episode 5, didn't have high game volume because I had an Ava Media at the time that I forgot to up the volume on. Whereas with Game Capture, you can mod it like right in front of your face. Once you record with Ava Media, you're pretty stuck with those settings. You can't change it mid-setting or anything. So I kind of did a boo-boo there and had half the final episode with like very low game volume, which was very unfortunate considering the reveal of character. But spoilers. But that's a bit late. But probably already know. Everyone knows about that anyway. But yeah. So I was never really happy with how this playthroughs turned out. And it was the same case with, say, The Walking Dead season 1, and half of season 1 was on I think, or the entirety of season 1. I can't remember. But I think maybe the entirety of Season 1 was on Xbox One. I think the entirety of Season 2 was on Xbox One. And then Season 3 was on the PlayStation 4. So you kind of get the idea, you know. I was doing different consoles at different times with different settings and different things. With Project PC, it's a means to have the entire kind of stuff there, all on one console with all the same settings and all that. So, and in 1080p 60 frames, because I do that with YouTube videos now. So yeah, that was the means for it, and what I decided to do was include Life is Strange in there. Life is Strange didn't need doing, the series went as I wanted, but I loved the series that much that you know I was gonna obviously do that anyway, and that obviously opens the door to obviously future installments of series, say Life is Strange 2 and The Walking Dead final season. They will now be PC playthroughs. With season 4, I'm a little bit worried because, as you probably know, for some unknown fathom reason, Epic Games has the exclusivity to The Walking Dead final season, which kind of annoys me because I didn't buy it on Steam because I wasn't going to buy it on Steam, not for the price it was running at the time. It was like hugely expensive and I couldn't buy it. I was going to buy it eventually, but you know, I just couldn't afford it at the time. And then come to find out that the final season is then semi-cancelled, only for Skybound to then pick up the rights and pick it back again. And then it turns out that Epic Games Store is going to have exclusivity to it, which kind of really annoys me. Really, because I don't mean this harshly, but Epic Store basically only exists because people buy the hell out of the V-Bucks for Fortnite. Fortnite is the only reason Epic Games Store exists at all. And I mean, honestly, it is the only reason Epic Store exists at all. It's the only reason, because people were buying so many V-Bucks on the store in the first place, or the Xbox Store, the PlayStation Store, the Switch Store, whatever console you played on. And the only reason it ever exists is because people were doing that and doing microtransactions with Fortnite and everything. In an era where most people are bitching about microtransactions in games, and I think this tweet summed it up perfectly that someone said. It said, even though everyone's now bitching about Apex Legends, for example, having cosmetic microtransactions, these same people had no problem buying Fortnite V-Bucks or Fortnite packs outright. You know what I mean? In an era where people are bitching about microtransactions, they're more than happy to buy Fortnite's bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like, and I don't mean any harm on Fortnite, not at all. I understand Fortnite's popularity and everything like that. What I'm saying is, these people that were complaining about microtransactions in this day and age have no problem buying anything Fortnite does. It's kind of like a double standard, really. It's more the people rather than the game. I understand the hype surrounding Fortnite and everything and the popularity it has. I personally prefer PUBG or H1Z1 or Blackout in gameplay terms, but I will stress again that I do understand the success that Fortnite has, the fact it's a free game and gets constant updates compared to all those other games, and I'm completely on board with that. You know, I think Blackout and PUBG should get more updates more often than they do, but they don't. But the thing that kind of bugs me is, like I said, these people that have been complaining about microtransactions in games like Apex had no problem buying Fortnite's cosmetic items when they were available. So that's the only thing. And like I said, that's the only reason Epic Store really exists, is because of all Fortnite's microtransactions and those very people I was mentioning. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. I'm gonna still play Season 4 on the Epic Games Store. I'm still gonna buy it eventually, and I'm still gonna play through it on the PC version. But I'm kind of worried because I don't know if my Season 1 to 3 choices will carry over to the Epic Games Store version. If they don't, then that's fine, because I do believe that season 4 does have an option where you can kind of pick the most significant moments throughout your first 3 seasons and start with pretty much that story you made. Supposedly, I think that's how it works. I'm not sure, but I'm still gonna buy it. I'm still gonna play it, and who knows? I might even jump into Epic Games Store for other things, because Epic Games Store is rapidly growing in popularity. You know, Metro Exodus now is on there, so it's something I'm probably gonna have to adapt to eventually. I don't really believe the means that they got as big as it did wasn't really through means of decent deals or anything like that. They basically got there because probably the majority of people play Fortnite on PC and bought all the microtransactions and V-Bucks on that version, and that's how, you know, Epic made their money, through the same people that were bitching about microtransactions in other games, but I digress. So it doesn't really change anything. I'll still buy the Season 4, I'll still play it, even if it's on the Epic Store, I'll still have it. I have an account there, so I'll do that. So that's no real big deal. It's just kind of annoying that, you know, the people that didn't get to buy it on Steam now get screwed and they have to buy it through other means, but that's fine. I mean, I've got a long way to go before I can even consider buying Season 4 anyway. So it might have even come down in price by then, because I've got to do the first 3 seasons first as part of Project PC. So let's continue with that. So obviously, yes, it's still pretty much the same deal. You know, Life is Strange Before the Storm, Tales from the Borderlands, The Walking Dead series. What else was there? Jurassic Park, I think. Batman Season 1 and 2. I'm really looking forward to Season 2. I've never even played that game. The only exceptions for Project PC will be Minecraft Story Mode, because I feel that Minecraft Story Mode ended well at Season 1 Episode 4, and basically continued because of the subject matter from Minecraft, and from what I've heard from Tom Lady Games, the episodes past 4 aren't really worth it. So it's better just to leave it at Episode 4, but that would be a really weird place to end the playthrough when there were 3 more episodes plus an entire season on it. So I'm not even going to bother with that. I might just go for the achievements. I did enjoy Minecraft Story Mode for what it was. I really enjoyed it, actually. It was really cool stuff and a really cool kind of alternative to playing Minecraft, because as you know, with Minecraft, I can't play Minecraft for shit. You know, I had my brother do the tutorial. That's how bad I am at Minecraft. So, but I did enjoy the Telltale spin on it, because it didn't involve heavy thinking of how to build. Because, you know, I can't build for shit, case in point in Fortnite. So, so there's that. But yeah, the other game that's missing will be Game of Thrones, because as I explained, Game of Thrones is too open-ended to a season continuing that will never happen because of Telltale's unfortunate closure. So there's no real point in doing that game at all, with that in mind. So that's pretty much it on everything now. So I guess a couple of things to mention in the future in the near future. Project PC will most likely start in March. That gives me a few days to finally work out some kinks. Probably work on how me and Lady Tom are going to actually record stuff. We haven't actually done that yet. We've done a stream, but we haven't done a recording session yet, or a mock recording session. We're not going to actually do one. And that gives me some time to maybe work out the kinks on how to get this channel trailer. Now, I mentioned channel trailers a little bit in my refurbishment videos. That will be coming. I am working on it. I will be working on it pretty much from the end of Dragon Ball FighterZ Mighty Madness. But what we decided to do just recently was probably have myself and Time Lady Games might do a joint one instead. There's no point us having our own channel trailers for a couple of reasons. Number one, the main reason, is because Time Lady Games doesn't do YouTube as much as I do. I do almost every single game, every single release, even to classic games that I don't really delve into at first. Time Lady only does games with co-op in them, so Gears of War, Resident Evil, and the like. You know, she only really does that. She's more of a streamer when she's in the mood for it, I would say. If she had to pick one or the other, I think she would do streaming more than YouTubing, basically. So I think what we're going to do is probably just have a joint trailer where we're both involved. Later Tom can have that file, and then she can just have that. So we're probably just going to do a joint one together, and basically for our YouTube playthroughs, we're both going to be pretty much sitting in the same room anyway. You know, she's not doing any different to me. You know, she has Elgato, she has a blue microphone, she has the same kind of thing as me, the same setup, the same way of doing things. We're pretty much parallel on YouTube and how we do our videos. We're pretty much the same. So there's really no point in having two separate videos with Tom Lady describing pretty much what I said when we could both do it, both be in the room, because like I said, Tom Lady's now going to be in the room with us, playing the game alongside us. So there's really no point for us both doing a channel trailer when we're both pretty much saying the same thing. So we're probably just going to do a joint one and leave it at that for that one. So I'll probably get on work on that pretty soon. The things in March that could coincide with that, Project PC will probably be a co-op playthrough if we can get round to it. Obviously the F1 season starts in March, so that puts difference to our kind of planned recordings on weekends, possibly, but we'll figure that out. Because like I said, we've only decided to start recording on weekends because the majority of the week Lady Tom will do some stuff on the TV she has to watch, so there's really no point like dragging away from that just to do a playthrough when we could do it at the weekend and have all the time we need to do it. So that'll put playthrough a little bit. So we might start. The next co-op playthrough is probably most likely going to be Resident Evil 6 because, as you probably guys have noticed, I'm in a real Resident Evil mood right now. So I think Resident Evil 6 will be the next thing we do, and then that gets to that. Finally, off our to-do list, and we can actually move on to a different series of games. Probably Rainbow Six, and then probably Halo after that, because Halo will be a rather big undertaking from Halo Reach to Halo 5, or maybe even Halo Infinite, or whenever that comes out. Was it Halo Infinite? I can't remember. But in the midst of all that, I believe in March is the MK11 beta. I'll obviously be checking that out. Won't be doing any videos of it. They'll be mostly streamed. And that's pretty much it for releases that I know have a confirmed release date, aside from one in the summer and one in May, which is Team Sonic Racing. But compared to Crash Team Racing Remastered, I'm only really looking forward to Sonic Team Racing's soundtrack. So I'm probably not even going to bother picking that up. I'm only really looking forward to the soundtrack of that game rather than playing it, because Crash Team Racing was my shit back in the day. You know, mine and Tom Lady's game, that was Crash Team Racing aside from Mario Kart. So when that comes out in the summer, holy shit, are we going to be doing some stuff with that? So that's something I can't wait for. I loved that game. Definitely going to be covering it, and we're definitely going to be doing some streams of it. Speaking to the streams, I think I've mentioned this before. I am pretty much on the verge of making Mixer my exclusive platform in the future. I think the bot viewers on Twitch are getting worse, and it's just putting me off. So I think I'm just gonna make Mixer exclusive streams eventually. I mean, more exclusive than Twitch. I will be on Twitch streaming from time to time, but I think for the higher majority is going to be on Mixer from now on, because the bot viewers are getting worse, and Twitch doesn't seem to want to do anything about it for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm not completely abandoning it. I do have some friends that stream exclusively on Twitch, so I'm not going to abandon them and not use it anymore. But I think in terms of streaming, it'll be, if I have the choice and I would rather do it on Mixer, it's a no-brainer. Mixer's a better community from what I hear anyway, and like I said in a video quite far back, I think it was when my PC got returned the last time, I'm a huge fan of Mixer's features, the FTL streaming, the co-streaming. I'm a huge fan of the features. I think it has potential and room to grow in the future, personally. I'm not going to speak out against Twitch, because that's not me. I just think the bot viewers on Twitch are getting worse, and no one's doing anything about it for some reason. I don't know if Twitch doesn't know or doesn't care. I'm not sure. I can't really say without any definitive proof on that. So yeah, so streams will probably most likely about 90% be on Mixer from now on. And the last thing to really mention that has some sort of release window or not really will be the return of my uncle in July. If I don't get the webcam and mic stand in through the post next month, I will most likely get it in July when he comes around with it, because he's coming over for a couple more days this time to pretty much finish up what he started. The last things we have to do in this room, like I said in the refurbishment after video, is finish with a couple of pictures that you can probably see behind me. He's going to move Lady Tomwood's 4K TV into here. I don't know how that's going to work because the TV is probably as big as mine. So I don't really know how that's going to work. That's going to be enjoyable if you can get around to doing it. And I think like sort out the wiring over there, because as I probably mentioned over there, the wiring wasn't fully done. He ran out of time basically the last time he went to do that. So the wiring never really got finished, which was unfortunate. But once that gets finished, the setup will be golden, really. I'm really a big fan of these wires that he left over. It's basically like a USB cable extender sort of thing, and it really works out well for what I need. So if I can get another one of those, that'd be grand as well. So, but we'll have to see, because obviously a lot can change between now and July. And my uncle, like I said, he's working round the clock as a security guard. He lives 4 hours away in Newquay, so obviously there's the travel thing involved. Last I heard, my nan and granddad were coming over, and then nan said no. So, you know, things can change. But like I said, it's the bulk of the work that my uncle did has been done. It was just unfortunate, really, that the table took up the bulk of my uncle's time when he made this, you know, because I think the table, admittedly, was in a different language. I wasn't really sure. I think that was the reason. The reason was that it was in a different language, so that we kind of lost out on that one. And he basically ran out of time and didn't get to finish everything. But like I said, the only thing he really needs to do is wires to tidy them up a bit, put some pictures on the wall behind us, and that's pretty much it. And probably a couple of other things as well. But if you can't do that and can't get round to the summer because he's working around the clock or anything else, then we'll just get someone else to do it. It's not really a big deal. It's something we can do ourselves if we have to. But he advised to wait until he knows for sure what he's going to be doing around that time of month. So that is pretty much it, because I can't really say much else. You know, E3's in the summer. It's going to be weird without Sony being there. Crash Team Racing is obviously June, I think. And Mortal Kombat's March or April. I think the beta's in March and the game's April. And that's really all I can really talk about right now. But I'm interested in. There's not a lot really to talk about at the moment. Obviously, I think this year is going to be before the new consoles, because everyone's convinced that 2020 will be the launch of the next generation of consoles, which makes a lot of sense. You know, this gen doesn't feel old enough to me to do that, but that's only because we've been already playing on it for 5 years, and we had the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X come out fairly recently, and that's why it doesn't feel really time for a new generation yet, but in reality it probably is. So I think this year is going to be the calm before the storm when it comes to the next generation of consoles, because obviously Sony's not going to be there this year. Microsoft probably more than likely going to talk about the next Xbox. That's probably going to be on their agenda immediately, because they'll probably want to get a head start, because they fell so far behind at the start of this generation. Not that it matters, because I would buy all of them anyway. But yeah, I think the new consoles are definitely going to be more on the agenda this year. Well, from Microsoft's point of view anyway. And then Sony will come back with a huge bang in the next PlayStation next year. So, yeah, it is pretty. We're all getting prepared for the new console launches. I'm sorry, my hair is so long. I need to get it cut. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think on the base of everything covered, I think I have been thorough enough. I don't really script these episodes out. I just kind of think of it off the cuff. It's a lot easier for me to do rather than reading off things, which I probably should plan these out better. But you know, but like I said, it warranted an update today. Like I said, it's been almost 40 minutes. So, you know, it was more than worth doing an update for this one. So, Project PC will be beginning around the beginning of March. If anything actually changes, I will let you guys know through social medias. You guys know what to do. Follow, subscribe, all the good stuff. And I will see you for future videos. Until then, guys, this is Fatality Games. This is Simon Chaos signing off. Until the next time, peace out. Take care, guys. And as always, stay awesome.